Welcome into KSR's March Madness preview show. As you can see, we have a full house. There's so many of us, we didn't all fit on the screen. We've got Jacob backstage. We'll rotate him in. But as you can see, you've got me, Drew, Tyler, Zach, Jack, Adam, Nick. The whole KSR website gang is here to give you a little NCAA tournament preview. We won't go over the whole bracket because that would take all night, but we are going to share with you our favorite upset pick, how far we think Kentucky will go, our Final Four and champion selections, and maybe a little talk about some other matchups along the way. We are brought to you by our friends at SeatGeek. We've been telling you about SeatGeek for a while now. Make sure you use SeatGeek if you want to go to the NCAA tournament in Milwaukee. Maybe you want to go to a concert this summer, maybe football season next year. They have 70,000 events, as Tyler shows you the beautiful app there. I can't do it because I'm using my phone to record. It looks good there, Tyler. But make sure you use SeatGeek, promo code KSR10 for 10% off your order on SeatGeek. Like I said, they have so many events, not just basketball, but with March Madness time being here, check them out if you're on around Lexington. Go to Rupp Arena, maybe watch the Cats in Milwaukee, maybe in Indy, maybe in San Antonio. I'm rocking the shirt from 98 for good mojo here. But go to SeatGeek, KSR, promo code KSR10.
Historic
All right.
Memorial Coliseum.
Yeah, go there. Women's team
Boom.
too. Thank you, Nick. Should not exclude the women's team. But let's just go ahead and get started. We're going to rotate around. Like I said, Jacob will pop in with the rest of us. We can only fit 6 on the screen, but let's get right to it. I want to save our Kentucky predictions for a little later in the program. Let's start with some upset picks. And because I'm driving the ship, I get to go first, so you can't steal mine. I like a lot of upsets, actually. I'm going to have a pretty crazy bracket, I think. But the one I'm going to use in this exercise is Will Wade playing his alma mater, Clemson. I'm picking a 12 over a 5 in the Midwest. McNeese, they haven't lost. They have one loss since December when they lost to Mississippi State. They played Alabama close. They won the Southland Conference Championship, the regular season, and the tournament. They've been a hot team all year with one of the, I think maybe the best manager in all of college basketball. If you all have seen him lead them out with the speaker blaring hip hop music. But I think Clemson gets it done, or McNeese gets it done in Will Wade's last run there before he takes another job. He's been too good since he took over there since leaving LSU. But that is the upset I am trusting the most. With Clemson going down, and I swear it has nothing to do with Clemson beating Kentucky. I am still a little bitter over that, but I genuinely think McNeese can hang with them, force turnovers, and win that first round game. So with that, I'll pass off to Tyler. And Tyler, what upset are you looking for?
I mean, you took mine. That was mine.
Perfect.
Yeah. But I was looking, and, they played Alabama pretty close. They played Mississippi State pretty close. Like you said, they haven't lost since December. So that's what I'm going with. I have some others in mind, but I don't want to steal anybody else's picks. So go Will Wade.
Yeah, we didn't coordinate all these. We could have some overlap. That's fine. You believe what you believe. And so far, Tyler and I are both on the Cowboys. Jack, we'll go to you next. Who are you looking for an upset?
Well, every year there's a 12-5 upset, but I don't know if we can even call it an upset because number 12 seed Colorado State is actually a favorite over 5 seed Memphis. There isn't a hotter team in college basketball right now than Colorado State. Since February 11th, they have not lost a game. The advanced metrics have them listed as a top 10 team since then. So if you're looking for one of the hottest teams in college basketball, Colorado State, that is an easy money for me. Guy, Nick Clifford is a National Player of the Year, at least belongs in the conversation. He's not going to win it, but a very talented team that I think is going to take care of business against old Penny Hardaway and the Tigers.
Jack, I showed up expecting to have on the best shirt. What do you got on there? That's impressive. What kind of year are we looking at?
Oh,
he loves that yellow.
This old thing, I've dropped it in a couple of times, but I had to reveal it for our big reveal show.
Looking good. We love our vintage throwback gear. We'll stick with the rapid reaction crew that I was just with in Nashville. Zach, you're up next. Who you got?
I am going with UC San Diego. I've got them actually going to the Elite Eight, pulling off of several upsets along the way. I like what they've got. They don't turn the ball over very well. They're very efficient. Just one of those mid-major teams that has, I think they're on a 15-game winning streak right now. One of the longest streaks the longest active streak in the nation right now. Ran through their conference tournament. I think they get past Michigan. They're going to have a nice matchup against Texas A&M. If Texas A&M even makes it that far, I don't think their bully ball style of play is going to work out too well. And I just like what UC San Diego's got going right now. So they shoot a ton of threes. They make a bunch of them. They play kind of to their own pace, and they don't turn the ball over. I think that's a recipe for making some upsets They're like also 36 in the Ken Palm as well, pretty high for a mid-major team. So I'm going with, what are they? What's their mask? The Tritons, the UC San Diego Tritons. That is my pick.
I also had them picked right here on my bracket that I printed out from the On3 Bracket Challenge. Make sure you go sign up for that if you haven't done already. Got the links all over KSR. Help you get there. Tyler with the yay.
Yay.
I was going to go to Jacob. Is he still backstage? I can go to one of the football guys, whoever. Jacob, there you go. What's your upset pick? Get in here. Get in here.
Get the guy in here.
I'm going to go with UNC Wilmington. I know they beat Kentucky.
Oh, boo.
They beat Texas Tech.
Kansas fan.
And then I expect Drake to advance in 11 versus 14 in the second round.
Oh, man.
Love it. It's good to see you there, Jacob.
Sorry, had to do it.
The Seahawks stink. That team's garbage. I think we could put our Brady bunch together and go out and beat that team. UNC Wilmington out. I love that bracket with Texas Tech. I think they're really, really good. I'm not going to do the just like, let's pick one. I'm going like deep run here. I like Zach, the former Fighting Jim Harbaugh's at San Diego. People forget he coached there. I've got a similar. I thought I had
different
a spicy
San
take.
Diego, not the same San Diego.
It's the same San Diego. There's only he
That you
coached
see in front.
No, he coached San Diego College back in the day.
There's UC San Diego, and then there's San Diego. He coached San Diego.
Wait. There
your campuses right.
cannot be three San Diegos. There cannot be a regular San Diego, a UC San Diego, and a San Diego State. No.
Titans,
And there's a Carmen San Diego, so there's 4 San Diegos.
Come on. Enough with the San Diegos already. Sorry to derail everything. I apologize. I like BYU a lot. I mentioned it yesterday. I think Mark Pope's former school and Kentucky's old coach are going to the second weekend. That's right. Cal, he's cooking up something big. The head hog, he's calling the hogs in Providence. They're going to upset Jacob's Kansas Jayhawks in the first round. If you call it an upset, they've already beat them once this year. I'm actually more worried that they have Boogie Flan back. I'm worried he might mess up their mojo. But Kansas stinks. They're no good. And then we've all learned over the years that Rick Pitino can't beat John Calipari. It's an empirical fact. He just can't do it, and he won't do it again. Cal's going to get to the Sweet 16, and he's going to be strutting his stuff all over the place, and we're going to have to deal with it. It's going to be a little awkward, too, because Mark Pope's old team, BYU, they're really good. I cannot wait to see them in an up-and-down affair against Alabama. Richie Saunders should have been a Cat. Instead, he's stuck out there. But they actually got some athletes in the front court. So that's where I think that it's a little bit of a weird matchup in the first round where they're going up against a real defensive mind team that wants to slow it down in VCU. But if they get out and move in the front court, I watched them hit big shot after big shot after big shot late against Iowa State. So I think they got the stuff to challenge Duke, although I don't know if they can beat them and get to San Antonio in Kevin Young's first season.
Let's put a pin in that Calipari discussion. I have a question about that next. But let's get Luckett's Cinderella, and then we'll go there.
Drew, well, first of all, thank you for having me on KSR's Hollywood Squares. When I think Cinderella, and I think underdogs, and I think little old team that could, I think of the North Carolina Tar Heels. So give me the number 11 seed to make it to the Sweet 16. The team that you never think could do it. Barely snuck in the tournament. Everyone's doubting them. I like the path for them here. Beat San Diego State and then beat Iowa State to make the Sweet 16. So give me the little engine that could, North Carolina.
You're just doing that for attention because they're the talk of March Madness so far. You're just trying to get some attention there.
Yeah, they're just underfunded in a mid-major conference. It's just a hard life to live over there. Their head football coach is going through like a midlife crisis. It's just very difficult times over there in Chapel Hill. So finally, they win one. They haven't won much in their history. So finally, they'll have some tournament success.
Before we get to Kentucky's chances in the Midwest region, since Roush brought up Cal and Rick potentially meeting, I'm going to have all of you just predict that little pod of Kansas, Arkansas, St. John's, Omaha, and then who will make it to the second weekend out of that little group. Any volunteers that wants to go first to put their name on what Calipari or Rick might do? Jack, you got a little grin up there. You want to stick with the same order?
Yeah, so many people want it to be Patino, Cal Patino. They're not going to get there. Bill Self's going to beat them. We already saw what happened in the exhibition game. They got all their celebration out of the way. Bill Self, as underwhelming of a season as we've seen at Kansas, they have on paper a team that should be really, really good. They were the number 1 team in the country going into the year. So I feel like they just kind of have this, all right, well, let's just punt on the regular season. Let's punt on conference tournament season, and let's put all of our chips in on this. And I think Bill Self has a little, spunk going into this head-to-head matchup with so much attention on John Calipari. What can he do? I think that he's going to shut up that noise before we even get that opportunity.
I'm agreeing with you. There's too much talk about Cal and Rick. I have Kansas winning 3 games, even though they've been very disappointing in the regular season. That roster is too good to not do something in March. It is just absurd that we have John Calipari versus Bill Self in the first round after those two have met in the championship twice. I don't know if I would have believed that if you told me that 10 years ago, but here we are. Tyler, are you back in Arkansas? I know you're a big Calipari fan.
They're built for March. I mean, come on. They're destined to do this. I think it would be absolutely hilarious if Calipari lost in the first round again, especially to Bill Self. But I want the Cal-Rick matchup. I want it. And I know that, Cal has owned Rick. I think he was 8-2 against Rick at Kentucky. But wouldn't it be kind of fun if Rick got the last laugh, if he got to ride off into the Sweet 16? I mean, bring it on. I never in a million years thought I would be cheering for Rick Pitino over John Calipari in the NCAA tournament. But here we are. I mean, it just perfectly sums up what a weird year it's been. So bring it on. I think it's like Pope said, Coach P wants the smoke. I want the smoke.
Jacob wants the smoke.
Jacob wants the smoke.
He wants the smoke bad.
We'll get Jacob back in here. We'll go ahead and get Jacob smoke. We'll mix it up.
All right.
What's your thoughts, Jacob? It's your
resident
Jayhawks.
Kansas alum here. I do have Kansas beating Arkansas, but I can't be too much of a homer. I have them losing to Pitino in the second round, with St. John's advancing pretty far. I won't spoil how far yet, but I have them advancing pretty far.
Ooh.
We still love Jacob, even though he is the only Jayhawk on staff. Let's go, Zach, Nick, and Luckett. Round us out with your pick for that pod that's unbelievable.
So I think Hunter Dickinson is probably the biggest loser in this entire bracket, and he's not nearly the All-American he was last year. So I'm going with Arkansas. I'm picking Calipari to finally get himself a tournament win, and then I can't wait to watch St. John's and Arkansas score a combined 60 points in that game in just the ugliest basketball matchup that we're going to see in the entire tournament. So those 2 games are going to be a lot of fun to hate watch, and I can't wait for it, honestly. But I do have St. John's winning and going to the Sweet 16, and then you'll figure out what I have or who I have coming out of that region later.
I just can't believe that there's a UC San Diego and a San Diego. Like, enough with the San Diegos already. You heard me already, though. Who you got?
Yeah, the Rouse special right now, Arkansas Sweet 16, you can get that north of 6-1. So if you're looking for
perfect.
a play, that might just be the play there. If you think
Just giving you money.
They're going to be Woo Piggin in Providence. I think we see Arkansas lead the whole game, up by 12 with 8 minutes left. Kansas wins. goes to the second round. Play St. John's. St. John's doubles Hunter Dickinson all game and really just kind of makes Kansas's life really tough because of lack of guard play. So I like St. John's to come out of that region. But if Arkansas were to advance, I think I would probably lean Arkansas in that matchup. But I think they lose that first game and St. John's gets out of that the Hall of Fame pod and makes it the Sweet 16.
Any chance that the garbage can guys mess anything up? That would be kind of fun if the Omaha Mavericks went in and just did a little to the garbage can on Rick Pitino.
I love the Outrunners, but that'll blow up all the fun if they win. I mean, I would love for Rick to lose, but I do like the potential of whether it's Cal or Bill Self getting Rick in the second round. Luckett, Bill famously said that he didn't lose. He ran out of time when he played Cal in 2012. So you're saying there will be enough time for him to finish the job?
Yeah, you know Bill. I mean, Polachek knows him well. He's like all Hall of Famers, and he's a little full of it, if you know what I'm saying.
Well, let's move over to the Midwest and talk about our Cats, what we think about them, and then we'll give our Final Four picks in the end. I'll go first. I think Kentucky's in a good spot. Not going to go as far as I'd like, which would be a national championship. I don't have them going that far, but I think they beat Troy rather handily on Friday night. I'll say they cover the spread. We'll call it a 10 to 15 point win. Spread's 10.5. I guess they'll get that, an 11 to 15 point win in that game. I think Texas will emerge on the other side, not Illinois or Xavier. I think that'll be another one that comes down to the wire, and point guard play will be the difference maker for Kentucky in that game, unlike the one at Austin. So that puts the Cats in the second weekend in the city we all hate this time of year, Indianapolis. But the curse will be broken. Tyler will get her St. Elmo shrimp, and the Cats will beat the Vols for a third time in the Sweet 16. It'll be a good crowd both ways. Vols fans will show up, but it won't be enough. Kentucky fans will have the majority. I just can't imagine a scenario where we lose that game to the Vols. So I have Kentucky going on to the Elite Eight, where they will unfortunately lose to Houston. I've thought Houston is a team I want to avoid all year. They're the 1 seed in Kentucky's bracket. I didn't love seeing that. So I think Mark Pope's team goes out in the Elite Eight, but I got to say, I'll be happy with that. I think the rest of y'all would too if you're beating the Vols in the Sweet 16. So that's where the road ends for Kentucky for me. Tyler, what do you have?
I have the same result, actually. I have Kentucky beating Troy, obviously. I have them beating Texas. I have them beating Tennessee and losing to Houston. And before the draw came out, all I kind of wanted was just Kentucky to get to the Sweet 16, and I would have been happy. But then there's Tennessee. They have to play Tennessee potentially. So if you would ask me, like, would I rather have a Sweet 16 loss or a second round loss? Like, I think the fact that that loss could be to Tennessee in the Sweet 16 kind of plays a factor, because I live around all these people. I see these Tennessee fans every day, and it's been really nice to, kind of have bragging rights that Kentucky beat them twice this year. But if they beat Kentucky to move on to the Elite Eight, that's really going to stink. So it's not going to happen. I will say Dwight Perry has the chance to do the funniest thing ever.
Ooh.
I mean, he's a former UK guy. They're playing in Rupp Arena. Would he just be the biggest hero ever if they knocked off Tennessee in the first round? I mean, come on. Let's do it.
I'll wear a Dwight Perry jersey. It's easy to get. It's the one that didn't have a number on it when he checked in that tournament game. I'm with you, though. I probably would have picked Kentucky to lose in the Sweet 16 to any of the other 2 seeds. But once it became the Vols, I just don't have it in my heart to have the Vols there.
Well, because they beat them before. And here's the other part about all of the bad voodoo going around Indy. Do you remember who played before Kentucky lost to St. Peter's?
I think you told us last night. It was Tennessee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just it's all lining up. Although I hate to go out of turn, but it does feel like, holy crap, we got a good draw again, right? Like we keep getting good draws. I'm used to hearing the coach complain about the draw. The draw almost feels too good to be true. The only thing that I like, Jawan Roberts for Houston, I'm really high on them, but he's got an ankle sprain going into this thing. If that Gonzaga game gets a little trippy, who knows? Kentucky could do something even crazier than we all anticipate. But I believe Illinois is going to bottom out at some point, whether it's against Kentucky or before Kentucky. So the Cats will get to the Elite Eight before losing to Houston. But just keep your eye on the Cougs, because as much as people are talking about Auburn having to potentially play a road game against Louisville, I mean, Gonzaga's top 10 in KenPom, and they got the 8 seed. Are you hearing people cry all about that?
We're sorry.
Yeah, so sorry, Cards fans.
sorry.
Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, I feel like we're all going to do this. I think we're picking the same route, although I do have Xavier upsetting Illinois, and I think it's going to be Kentucky defeats Troy in the first round. They're going to beat Xavier, and then I think we are going to get rid of that nasty monkey off of our backs. It's been disgusting. It's been terrible. I hate the city of Indianapolis. I'm ready to celebrate. I've never been to a Sweet 16. I don't know what it looks like. You guys talked about how much fun it is, and oh, wow, tournament runs are the best. Wow, I love being able to enjoy fancy dinners. No, my memories of NCAA tournaments are packing up or not even unpacking my suitcase to begin with, because we're just getting there and then packing up and leaving and usually being really upset and sad the entire drive home. So this is going to be the trip that changes it. We're going to beat Tennessee for a third time, advance to the Elite Eight. Unfortunately, I think just the momentum's not going to carry them far enough. I think Houston is an absolute juggernaut. I think they are probably my top 2 favorite to go all the way. So I just don't think they're going to have enough legs there at the very end to beat Houston, but I think we're going to have a whole heck of a lot of fun on their way to the Elite Eight.
Zach, like Jack, you haven't had much tournament success since you've been on the KSR payroll. Are you feeling like this is the year you get to cover multiple games?
Yes, I'm also going Kentucky in the Elite Eight. I'm going a win over Troy, and then I think Kentucky will beat Illinois in the Orlando Antigua Bowl. And then guess what? They're going to UCLA in the Sweet 16. Why?
Oh,
I'm going off vibes, and it's not because of Mick Cronin. It's because of our boy, Jack and I's boy, Sky Clark, who is like
Oh,
what this the starting point guard for the UCLA Bruins, right? Or two guard or whatever he is. I've only watched like two UCLA games all year, but I'm
people
going with
forget
them
that.
because of vibes. Mick Cronin is still 5'5", but it doesn't matter because they're going to get to that spot. And Kentucky's going to beat them, and then I think they do lose to Houston in the Elite Eight. I guess that'll end up being. I'm very high on Houston in this bracket, as we'll find out later.
gotta admit, I have the odds pulled up for reaching the Elite Eight. Kentucky is plus 360, but I didn't have odds on Sky Clark being mentioned on this show. Had to have
Had to
been
throw that
like
one in there.
plus 30,000. So nice Sky Clark name drop. Jacob, the Kansas fan, I'll let you go next.
Yeah, I like a lot of people here. I think I didn't really expect to put Kentucky past the Sweet 16, but once I saw that Tennessee matchup, I had to do it. So I have them going to the Elite Eight and losing to Gonzaga. I think that Gonzaga is a criminally underseeded 8 seed. I think they're a lot better than an 8 seed, and I think they'll be looking for revenge against Kentucky. I can't put Kentucky in the Final Four, but I have them at least beating Tennessee and going to the Elite Eight.
One of us.
A lot of repeats here, but I gotta admit, at least it's good. Some good positive energy here as we count down to Friday. Luckett, that leaves you. What do you have for the Cats?
Yeah, I got them handling Troy. I like the over for all my degenerates out there. I've got them meeting Xavier in the second round. Close game. Think they get it done. Tennessee, they've got Tennessee's number. So I think they beat them. You see another big three-point shooting game from Kentucky against the Vols. And it kind of brings back some memories. Last time Kentucky was in the same Sweet 16 pod as Tennessee, it was in Indy. Kentucky beat Louisville and Michigan. So everyone's going to be feeling good vibes going into the Elite Eight. That gets even more so when Gonzaga knocks off Houston, but Kentucky falls to Gonzaga in the Elite Eight, and the Zags make it to the Final Four.
Mm.
can I say I like Zach's spicy UCLA pick because every time Mick Cronin's gone in the NCAA tournament out there, he's been to the Sweet
Usually
16.
wins.
Yeah, he even as I believe they were the 11 seed that one year they went to the Final Four from the playing game.
Johnny
So I
Juzang.
like that. Oh, you mean Tennessee might get in a slobber knocker and not score points? Never seen that before.
I'm reading some comments from the chat. Someone has told me not to run Tyler off like we did last night. To everyone who watched last night, thank you for watching. But Tyler volunteered to leave early last night because news broke, and we are a news breaking website, and someone had to go write the post. So we did not run Tyler off. Tyler was just working really hard on a Sunday night, right?
I really love to post the tip times. It's like one of my favorite things. So yeah, that was my decision. All good.
Larry Pryor picks Kentucky by 90. Some compliments to Jack's sweater. Some fun stuff in the comments. Keep chatting us there. Thanks for watching us here on a Monday afternoon. Let's move on to our Final Four picks. I guess let's just give them all at once. We won't go region by region. I'll start. I'll give my 4 Final Four teams, and I'll go ahead and name my champion too, and pass it off to whoever's next. It's going to look kind of chalk if you only put my Final Four on a graphic, but I have chaos leading up to it. I'll start in the South. This one is a little chalky, although I have Texas A&M running into Auburn, setting up Auburn versus Michigan State in the Elite Eight, and then Auburn will win that to go to the Final Four out of the South. In the West, I'm staying in the SEC, but I have an all-SEC Elite Eight. One of my crazy picks, I have Missouri, who can't seem to win a basketball game lately, going all the way to the Elite Eight to play Florida. But the Gators will win that one, setting up Auburn and Florida in the Final Four. It just means more on my graphics so far. So much SEC. Move over to the East. More SEC. Alabama coming out of the East. But my favorite upset I have on my whole bracket, Alabama is going to be playing Baylor in the Elite Eight. Baylor is going to take down Duke early. Baylor's going to beat Oregon, and then Baylor will run out of gas running to the Crimson Tide. So far it's Auburn, Florida, and Alabama. Unfortunately, the SEC teams will be out of the Midwest. I mentioned Kentucky running into Houston. I have Houston coming out of that region, and I actually have Houston winning the whole damn thing. Houston beats Alabama, and then Houston beats Auburn. Kelvin Sampson finally gets one. I thought all season this was going to be Bruce's year to get a ring. Something's a little off with them since they brought the belts out in Lexington. I still have them get to the title game, but I have Houston beating Auburn in the final. That Missouri pick, kind of wild, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got to. If you're gonna pick a 1 seed, 2 seed, and a 1 seed, I had to have a little chaos getting there. But that's my final four. Tyler, you're up next.
Well, I agree with you that something is off with Auburn, which is why I'm not picking them to make the Final Four. I have Michigan State beating Auburn, and then I have three more number one seeds, Florida, Duke, and Houston. I just am not so sure what to make of Florida, but I think they're going to get to the Final Four this year. I have them beating St. John's to make it there. I don't think St. John's is good enough to beat Florida. On the other end of the bracket, I think Houston is due. While I have Duke getting to the Final Four, I just think, Houston had to deal with that injury last year, and I think that this is their year. So I have Houston over Florida in the championship game. I think that Houston's defense will be enough to contain Florida's offense. And you know what? I think that's like a championship pick I can deal with. It won't upset me that much if Houston wins, whereas some of these other teams like Duke, it would upset me if Duke won. I can't really feel too happy for Florida, even though they're from the SEC. And Michigan State, it would be kind of cool to see Tom Izzo win it again, but I just don't think that they're good enough. So go Houston.
It's two Houston picks. Tyler and I are very like-minded on this exercise. Jack, we'll go to you next.
I felt like such a coward because I spent all early afternoon today just like I can't have a chalk Final Four. I just can't. Like I gotta talk myself into somebody stepping up and being just causing some type of chaos. I had Maryland. I've had my eye on for a really long time, but they're in Florida's region. I had UConn. How are you ever going to doubt Dan Hurley? Come on. 8 seed Dan Hurley gets a chance to get a quick upset and overtake that side of the bracket. That's, pretty terrifying. St. John's, we know that story. Gonzaga, BYU, I even had Kentucky. There are so many teams that feel like they could get there, but I just couldn't talk myself into any of them actually doing it because I think Florida's the best team in college basketball right now. They're the deepest. They're the most talented. They're just scoring 100 points a game. It's insanity what they're doing, and I just have a hard time seeing anybody beat them. So I have them in my Final Four. It feels like Tom Izzo is due. It feels like he has things rolling. I think Auburn is, I think that they're going to come up short. I think they're kind of scrambling here down the stretch, so I have Michigan State upsetting there, and then Duke, again, they're just dominating. If Cooper Flagg can get healthy, I just have a hard time seeing anybody beat them in that region. And then, unfortunately, Houston, I think, is just way too good. They're, kind of get it. Kelvin Sampson's been waiting for an offense like this. He finally gets it, and I think that they're going to steamroll their way to the championship game, and it's going to be Florida over Houston for an SEC champion.
Gators are looking good right now. I would like to see, I don't really want to see Florida win, but I wouldn't mind watching Olivier. How do you pronounce his last name? Ryu?
Oh, the 7'9" kid.
Yeah,
Ryu.
I'd love to watch him just literally cut down the nets. I don't want Florida to win, but that was pretty funny to watch in Nashville. Was that two Houstons and a Florida so far? Zach, what do you have for us?
Well, let's see. I'm going to start in the South region here. I've got Michigan State taking UC San Diego out of the bracket, the third San Diego team. They're going to get knocked out. And then going over to the East, I have Duke beating BYU. So I do have BYU making it all the way to the Elite Eight in Kevin Young's first year. Moving down to the Midwest, as we talked about earlier, I got Houston just sneaking past Kentucky. And then in the West region, I'm not saying I picked Texas Tech over Florida because I didn't want to kind of do what Jack did and just have a bunch of 1 seeds and 1 2 seed, but that's also that might have factored into my reasoning a little bit. So I got Texas Tech coming out of there. Then I got Michigan State beating Texas Tech to get to the championship game, Houston beating Duke, and then let's just make it our third Houston pick. They're going to win it all this year. I think that they're going to get there. Like everyone has kind of said there, the offense has finally picked it up. They've got a really good squad this year. So oddly enough, of the 14 SEC teams, I have 0 of them making it to the Final Four, and I've got Houston finally getting that one, and a nice one for Kelvin Sampson. I like him, so let's get him a title.
Did you not pick SEC team just because you wanted to not have all ones, or do you think it was a little overhyped getting 14 teams in?
Well, if we look back at the 2011 year when the Big East had 11 teams or whatever it was, I think it was just the one team, just UConn was the only team from that conference to make it to the Elite Eight. So a lot of them kind of got knocked out real early. I'm kind of thinking something similar might happen, but it would not shock me if Florida ended up going to the Final Four and even winning it all, like Jack said.
The SEC only went 500 in conference play this year, so
That's true.
It's true, Carl. Good stat, Carl. Nick, I want to go to you next, but before I do, what time did you actually fall asleep last night? Because you were running hot on our Selection Sunday reaction show.
Like 12:30.
Okay.
Yeah, I got. And the worst part is I was locked in on the brackets, but I ended up I went way too chalky. Similar picks to all of you. Like, I want to consider putting Texas Tech in the Final Four and BYU, but I just couldn't do it because Florida, ever since Kentucky played them, they've looked like an absolute wagon. And I know they've had their ups and downs and they've lost here and there, but I think they're so good. So I've got a Florida losing to Houston in the title game. And it sounds so boring after hearing everybody else's, but it feels like the wise play if Roberts' injury ended up being a big deal. And also Michigan State over Auburn. And Creighton's beating Louisville. So like don't try to think your way around it. Watching them play Duke, they can't go up against good bigs. You know how good Ryan Kalkbrenner is? That's a terrible matchup for them. So I wish I could be more upset friendly, but I'm just being boring old chalk Roush.
You mentioned the Louisville game. Nobody on this panel knows Louisville more than you, and some people accuse you of being a closeted Louisville fan.
They do, yeah.
What kind of crowd will it be in Rupp? Do you think the local Lexington people that already bought tickets can get louder for Creighton than the fans traveling from Louisville?
Well, if you go to Kentucky Louisville games, there aren't Louisville fans there if it's in Lexington. They're a terrible traveling fan base. They'll try to do better, but it's going to be 50-50. I mean, the people in Omaha, they're trying to get out. They will show up in droves. I don't think it's going to be a true home court advantage for them because they're still busy just crying and whining about their seed to just get up off their asses and get on over to Rupp Arena.
I have Creighton over Louisville,
the AP
too.
poll.
Just want to remind you all, I printed my bracket. Very serious about this.
Nick,
On three bracket
they can't go over there on Thursday. They got the fish fry on Friday. There's just too much stuff going on in here. You can't drive all the way to Lexington. You kidding me?
Yeah, Lucky, you like a good fish fry. You've sent me a picture from some fun Catholic picnics before. You're a good Louisville man yourself. How do you see this playing out?
Yeah, I'd pretty chalk other than Gonzaga. I've got 3-1 seeds in the Final Four. I'm not going to overthink Auburn's little swoon here late. I think they've been the best team all year, so I have them winning the title. I think we get the Auburn-Duke rematch. Auburn cuts down the nets, and Bruce Pearl goes on quite the celebration tour.
No, but Chad Baker-Mazara, he might go get himself thrown out of a game. You're not worried about the Chad Baker-Mazara technical ejection blow-up?
I mean, what's he going to fight, Cincinnati Pat and Rupp Arena? What's going on here? I think he'll be just fine.
Hey, Jacob, welcome to the big screen. I feel really bad. There was no possible way we could have 7 screens. We have to pay a premium for StreamYard. What we got to do to get all of us on here? Jacob, I feel bad you've just been sitting in the dark watching us. Good to have you back on the main screen. How do you see this playing out?
Well, my mentality with this was I wanted to jinx the teams I don't like by sending them to the Final Four. So I'm sending Auburn there, beating Iowa State. I've got Memphis losing to St. John's, so St. John's makes the Final Four. Then I've got Duke beating BYU to make it there. In the last region, the Midwest, I've got Gonzaga that I mentioned earlier. I think they beat Kentucky to make it to the Final Four. And then super boring finals, Auburn-Duke, with Auburn winning it all. I wanted to pick Duke to make the finals just to jinx them. That was purely my motivation behind that. So I hope my real prediction is that Duke loses to American University in the first round.
No, I need them to at least get to Baylor so my Baylor pick doesn't look as crazy on paper. It sounds like you got Florida losing to Memphis? Is that on your bracket?
I have Florida losing to Oklahoma, actually, and then Oklahoma losing to Memphis.
Ooh.
Spicy.
Wow. What have you seen in Oklahoma other than that Oweh buzzer beater to make you think that they got some magic in them?
I just think Jeremiah Fears is due for an epic March game, and I think it'll come against a 1 seed. With them being seeded as a 9, I think he's going to have a great first round matchup, and then something special in the second round to cement his name in March Madness history.
So we had Houston, Auburn, Florida. Roush, what was yours again?
Houston, yeah.
Houston, yeah. We're loaded up on Houston. I guess KSR overwhelmingly likes the Cougs. Zach
no
apparently
lose in the
hates.
second round.
Yeah, Zach hates the SEC for some reason, even though he was just in Nashville to watch it up all close and personal. Does anyone have any just general things they want to add? Any games they're looking forward to watching? Any hot takes before we break off and get back to getting excited about March Madness?
I'm shocked.
Any game you really want to watch before Kentucky plays Friday?
I just can't believe that Adam Luck had enough time to watch the bracket when Jamar Chase and T. Higgins signed. I mean,
You say you didn't go to bed at 12:30. I was holding a 1-year-old baby watching T. Higgins highlights. 2:30 in the morning.
I love these games where it's the contrasting styles. Drake and Missouri, how do you handicap the slower than snot versus the get up and down teams? So I love games like that. I'm fascinated by that one. And that's one of the many. Maybe give me BYU Bama in the Sweet 16. Like, I want to see them combine to score 120 to 112 or something like that. So in the other part too, the first 4 have delivered good games as of late. So can Rodney Terry hold Trey Johnson under 30 points, or will the Xavier home crowd in Dayton get him going? Like those 11 games, they're going to make sure that we're not sleeping on Tuesday and Wednesday night.
Jack, we're heading to Milwaukee, and Tyler. I guess the 3 of us are heading to Milwaukee with Steven behind the camera. On this morning's KSR show, Myron Metcalf gave us some Milwaukee tips over on KS Board, which everyone should be subscribed to KS Board. There's a whole thread of Milwaukee suggestions. I'll ask the 2 of you, anything you're looking forward to outside of the basketball in the beer capital of the world?
I think you nailed it. You start with the beer. I'm a big beer fan. So beer and fried cheese. I mean, that sounds awesome. I hear there's a statue of the Fonz there. I'm not a huge Happy Days fan, but we'll go check it out. The Bobblehead Museum. It sounds like a blast. Can't wait.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about Milwaukee, the nightlife, the city, the Riverwalk. It's a really, really cool city, very underrated city. So like you, Drew, I had Milwaukee atop my potential destination. So I know Jacob is our resident, Milwaukeean. He knows the area much more than we do. Jacob, do you have any hot tips for us as we make our travels up north?
The biggest one's already been said. Cops Custard. You got to go there. It's not just the custard. Get a burger. It's great. I go there every time I'm in town. I got a bunch of family out there. So, have fun. It's an awesome city.
I was there for a wedding 2 summers ago. I don't know the exact name, but it's the old historic Pabst Blue Ribbon Distillery. Gives a great tour. I will say, if you take the tour, they give way too many samples. Like I can put down some beer. I can put down some beer, and even I'm like, will you all please stop filling up our glasses of beer on this tour? So if you're going, Uber to the Milwaukee Distillery tour, and then the Milwaukee Public Market is this big open space. I had a couple of good meals there. Maybe the best Bloody Mary I've ever had. Had like a big crab leg sticking out of it. There's a good seafood restaurant in there. So those are my 2 recommendations. For everyone not making the trip, you got plans to watch it anywhere? Is this just a sit on the couch all day, all night, Thursday through Sunday event?
Couching it.
I'll be at Roosters on Thursday.
I think it's a good thing Kentucky got an extra day of rest, but I'm going to be so impatient. I don't like waiting around till Friday night, because then, I mean, how much dancing on Louisville's grave can you do when you haven't played yet, right? Like there's a little bit of nervousness there. So I want to get the monkey off our back and just be able to exhale and then stay up till 2 a.m. watching, whoever out on the West Coast. I don't. It's going to make me nervous. Even though we should have.
Jack, I asked you this last night, Jack, on our Selection Sunday reaction, but you were with the team and you know them as well as anyone. What's just kind of the state of the Wildcats before they fly to Milwaukee here in a couple of days?
Healthy, thank goodness. Like, they paraded Lamont Butler out, and he kind of took ownership of like, hey, this is my time. It's Lamarche. So I really appreciated that. There was a lot of talk about like, hey, Mark Pope is still looking for his first postseason win as a head coach, and that's kind of a monkey on his back. Personally, he was very quick to kind of brush off any. He's like, nah, if we make this about me, that we're doing this the wrong way. I'm at Kentucky for a reason, and some of the other players were talking, saying, he can say that, but we do want to win this for him because that is kind of a black eye on his resume. When he got hired, everybody was like, oh, well, can he win the big one? And they want to do it for him. So the vibes are very good. It does just kind of feel like they've pushed all their chips in on this. And, we got a little kind of tidbit from Mark Pope where he said that if, they probably could have gotten Lamont in there at some point in the SEC tournament if they had maybe made a run to Sunday or whatever, but said, no, we know what's at, on the line with the real tournament, the NCAA tournament. So we want to make sure that everybody's at full strength, everybody's good to go, and it appears that's where we're trending.
Someone sent us a little bit of beer money on the YouTube chat. I don't want to get the name wrong. Athir, am I pronouncing that right? If anyone knows the correct pronunciation. It says my final 4 picks: Auburn, Cats, Michigan State, and St. John's and Bama. Is that 1, 2? Cats has just worked in there a lot. Cats win it all. Let's go, Cats. Looks like we got $1 for each time Cats was mentioned there. Also, Jim Woods says get a Spotted Cow beer in Milwaukee. Those are the best. Good thing about riding in the car with Matt is not flying back. I get to bring back some Spotted Cow beer. I'm sure you all are familiar with that. It's one of the more famous beers around.
You'll have so much room to store it all,
Well, we'll leave Mario there. Zach, what's your take on the team? You were also around yesterday before we go. I know you're not making the trip, but you, like Jack, have been just about every game this year that you can and have been following them closely.
Yeah, I like how the brackets lined up. It's kind of seems to be there's some on Twitter that aren't a big fan of the matchups for Kentucky, but I like how it played out. I think the Troy matchup will be a fun one. The line is kind of interesting. I think they're still the lowest 3 seed in terms of the spread there. So that's kind of interesting, but I do think they'll get past them. I don't have much of a worry about Texas, Xavier, Illinois. I would love for Kentucky to play Tennessee a third time. I'm really not worried about the Volunteers being able to keep up with Kentucky scoring wise. They've shut down Chaz Lanier twice now. I just don't see how they can actually pull that one off again, no matter what Jay Billis says in his write-ups. But I do think that the vibes are really good right now. Despite that season or that conference loss, there's a lot of really dejected faces in that post-game locker room. So I think there's going to be a lot of fuel to come back and especially really get that first win for tournament win for Mark Pope. I think that's going to be huge. And once you do that, then you're just kind of playing in a little bit. You're playing with house money a little bit. So having a healthy Lamont, having all these, the freshmen that have had all this experience all year long, I feel very confident we're going to get a big Ainsley Almanor game. I'm not sure which game it's going to be, but I know he's going to come up and win Kentucky a game. That's Jack's boy. But I think we're going to see really good performances all around from guys like Amari and Andrew. Like, this is why they came to Kentucky, was to have their big moments, and I expect that to happen. I think it'll be a really fun run to the Elite Eight. So I'm excited. Normally I'm like, oh, Kentucky's going to lose in the first round of 32, whatever. I sometimes I'll be a pessimist. Not this year. I really like the vibes heading into Milwaukee. So I'm excited to see how it all plays out.
You mean the same Ainsley Almanor that had 23 points and 5 threes in an NCAA tournament run on his old team? Jackie, your point.
Who was that against as well? Who was that against? Number 1 seed, correct?
No, he had 1 point in that game, but it was in the first round against the 16 seeds. But he's been there. He's been around the March Madness logos with the cups you have to drink out of, and he gets the scene. Maybe it wasn't the best competition where he had his big game. He had 1 point against Purdue, but we're focusing on his other game.
Is anybody worried about Amari? Like, just not being normal Amari as of late?
Nah.
Something was off in Nashville, but maybe he's put that aside.
Some people just can't handle Nashville. Amari's just like, he's from England.
He'll be fine.
It's just
not
too
worried
much.
about him.
Okay.
He needs something a little quieter like Milwaukee.
Because I like it. Andrew Carr. We got good Andrew Carr back. I mean, Butler healthy. You get him. But Amari's the one that...
Oh, we lost Roush. Perfect time to slide Jacob in so he doesn't have to keep sitting in the back. Oh, there he is. Welcome back. You were saying something, Nick Roush.
I love what I saw from Carr, but I just... feels like when one rises up, then another slides down. Like all year, there's been either great Amari, bad or injured Carr. Getting Ortega and Kobe to play great in the same game only happens if Butler's out. It's just I want everybody clicking at the same time. I'm a little worried that Amari something just felt a little off down in Nashville.
Go watch that
We can't-
Missouri game again. That'll help twist you back
Okay,
back
good.
on track there.
Yeah, you got to remember, he's from Nottingham, England. He was probably very thrown off by the sights and sounds of Broadway. I mean, it's a lot. I'm still trying to get my voice from being at Kid Rock's way too much. We're just going to chalk that up as it wasn't the right weekend for him. He'll love Milwaukee. I'm sure he likes cheese and lakes and all those things. But
It'll be
we'll
cold.
sign off. We'll sign off for now. Be sure to get over to On3's Bracket Challenge. The link's on KentuckySportsRadio.com. Sign up for KS Board, where we're all giving more picks and talking tournament there, some Milwaukee recommendations. And be sure to use promo code KSR10 when you get on SeatGeek to buy your tickets for Milwaukee or your tickets for historic Memorial Coliseum for the women's team that got a 4 seed. Maybe you want to go to Rupp Arena and boo Louisville. Go to SeatGeek. Tyler made our own shrimp cocktail sign. Go to SeatGeek, promo code KSR10 for 10% off. Thank you all, especially Jacob. I mean, I don't even know if he's back there right now. He could be out doing something. There he is.
Yay!
We thank Jacob the most. If we do this again, we're going to find out how to get a 7th square in here. That's just, it didn't feel right having him back. But for Jack, Zach, me, Adam, Nick, Tyler, Zach, SeatGeek, KSR 10, Steven behind the camera, all of it. Thanks for watching our March Madness preview on a Monday. It's almost here. Cats playing Troy in Milwaukee Friday night. We're looking forward to it. For now, we'll sign off and go Cats.